episode 131 of Off Script with Trish Close, intimate interviews with interesting people. Joining me today via Zoom, I have Julie Tanous. She is a recipe developer, cookbook author, most recently released a cookbook called Food Between Friends with your bestie, right?
Yes, Tyler Ferguson.
Yes.
Jesse, did you know you were my bestie?
He does now. Yeah, and we know him from Modern Family. So super cool story how you guys met. I've heard it a few times. I do want to talk about that, but I want to talk about where you're from because I know you're from the South and you're with a fellow Southerner here. So,
where are you from?
South Carolina.
No way. What part?
Aiken. It's
okay.
Close to Augusta, Georgia, where the Masters are played.
Yes.
But
okay.
You're from Alabama.
I love South Carolina. I'm from Alabama, North Alabama. So we're closer to Tennessee. I usually will fly into Nashville when I go home.
Gotcha. What was it like growing up? Where in Alabama? What's the town?
So I'm from a small town called Coleman. It's about it's between Birmingham and Huntsville, which are kind of our two big cities. And Birmingham, the food scene is booming there. So I feel like people are knowing, they know Birmingham now. I grew up in a very small town. We had a tiny shopping center. Our restaurants were like chain restaurants. So a lot of the food I grew up eating was just what my family, we didn't go out to dinner a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big treat. So I grew up eating at family reunions and family get-togethers and Sunday church, Sunday suppers.
Oh, I know about that.
Yeah. So driving to Birmingham was a really big deal. Went to dinner there for prom night. Like, oh, this is huge. We're in Birmingham.
Did y'all have Shoney's?
Oh my God, you know Shoney's?
Oh yes.
They would put an American flag on every meal. Do you remember that?
Uh-huh.
Like a mound of spaghetti, like a little toothpick American flag, the burger.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Shoney's. And didn't they have, I feel like they had like a bowl of some like suckers or something. When you left, like you could take a sucker with you.
Yes, that sounds familiar.
Okay. That's so weird that Shoney's popped in my head out of all the chain restaurants.
I can't believe you remembered Shoney's.
Mm-hmm.
I was also thinking Showbiz, which was like the original. Do you remember Showbiz?
Yeah.
My uncle managed Showbiz for a while in my hometown, so had a lot of birthday parties there.
Okay, awesome. So I know growing up in the South, for me, food was incredibly important in our family. When you're eating, grits and country cured ham in the morning, we're talking about what's for dinner. So
yes.
Same for you?
Always planning the next meal as you're eating one meal. And then you finish and a million people are asking if you're still hungry. Did you get enough? Did you get enough?
Oh, yeah. My granny used to ask me that all the time. Did you get enough? So did you have good cooks growing up then in your family?
I did. My mom was a working woman. She had an office job, like 8 to 6. So she had a couple of meals on rotation that, God bless her. She's a good cook, but it was a lot of like the prepackaged spaghetti marinara mix. But my dad's actually really good on the grill. So he likes to smoke chickens and all that. But my Aunt Irma Tubbs was an amazing cook. My Aunt Hilda was an amazing cook. Both my grandmothers were incredible cooks. So I was always fed delicious food. And, I think it was one reason I was intimidated to get in the kitchen and cook as a young girl. I was like, I'm not going to compete with all these women in my family who, are just slaying the turkey and dressing.
Totally. I had an Aunt Irma too.
You did? IRMA?
Yes.
It's a great name.
I think probably most Southern families have or have had an Aunt Irma. I think that's just the rule.
I know.
So I know you left the South, right? At a certain point, were you like, I got to get out of here, or okay? Tell me.
Yeah. Well, I left the day I went to college in Alabama. I went to the university, Roll Tide, and the day after graduation, I left. I moved to DC. I didn't have a job, but I had interned there in the summer, so I knew I wanted to be. I was just really drawn to bigger cities and different cultures and food and all of that. So also feel like DC is a safe segue because I eventually landed in New York. But DC is like it's still a little southern, but it's a big city. And so, yeah, I moved to Washington, DC, and I was there for 3 or 4 years. And, I loved meeting people from the Midwest and the West Coast. And because in Alabama, I went to summer camp, but my friends that I would meet were like from Tennessee or
Right.
Georgia or
Right.
South Carolina, and I didn't get to meet many people outside of the South. So when I went to DC, the exposure to all these different cultures and personalities was I craved it.
I bet. And I've always thought of DC as being a manageable big city, much like San Francisco, where it's not just
Hmm.
so ginormous that it's intimidating, but it still is a little intimidating.
Right. It is. And I knew a few people from Alabama that had moved there. So I kind of knew
Mhm.
people, it was an easy transition. But after a few years, I was like, I'm ready to move on. I'm done with DC. And so then I moved to New York.
What'd you study in school?
I was PR and political science, so I
Okay.
thought I wanted to combine the two. I know, it was a complete career changer. And then I moved to New York and shifted over into the music industry, where I met my husband,
Hmm.
and was doing PR, publicity, and music and performing arts for a while. And then when I was in New York, I really, again, was just exposed to like some of the best food I'd ever had in my life, and I wanted to learn how to make them. And started cooking for my husband had broken his foot and couldn't leave the apartment for a few months, and it was in the middle of winter, so I started cooking. And we would just have people over to our apartment. I kind of turned it into a restaurant, and so I thought, oh, maybe I want to do PR in food. And as I cooked more,
Hmm.
I discovered it was the cooking that I loved. And it was therapy for me to be in the kitchen and challenging myself and learning, how to make all these different foods that I had never even had growing up.
Sure. Did you find yourself, going out to different places and trying new foods and then wanting to recreate that almost?
Um, some things I wouldn't. I'm like, I'm not going to try soup dumplings. I'm going to go to my favorite local
Totally.
spot because these are delicious, and I will ruin them if I try them. But I remember in the beginning before I went to culinary school, a lot of it was just going to the grocery store without a recipe
Mm.
and just or the farmer's market and just kind of gathering whatever was fresh and almost creating like a chopped the mystery basket was
Totally.
kind of a little challenge for myself,
Yeah, for
to do
sure.
that.
But you said it was sort of like therapy for you. At what point did you find yourself, more interested in cooking and, sort of kind of putting in that work versus kind of leaving your day job, thinking about that less, thinking about cooking more? Was there a certain moment that happened for you?
It just made me, I think I felt obligated to work in publicity and PR because that's what I majored in college.
Hmm.
Um, and I just the joy I found in cooking, and then there was also that challenge, but in feeding people and getting feedback and testing recipes and developing recipes and learning how to like change it, tweak it slightly to make it my own. Or we'd have friends over that were vegetarian, and I was like, oh, okay, here's a challenge, it's, as a huge carnivore. And then I started taking a lot of recreational cooking classes at different culinary schools. So, I went to the Institute of Culinary Education in New York City,
Hmm.
and I just started taking recreational classes there. And I didn't know anyone. I was like meeting people, and I would just choose like one night. I think the first class I ever took was a taste of New Orleans. I was like, oh, yes, let's go. I want to go make, New Orleans food. And um, I spent a year probably doing that. Like wherever I could find a recreational cooking class, I would take it. And I was a sponge. I just learned as much as I could. And it made me so happy. And when I started culinary school, it was all day. It was like, you know, the morning jam and the
Yeah.
subway, and I'm like taking my knives and almost, it was a lot of work. but it was the happiest I've ever been. And the I was a good student, but I wasn't like a straight A student. And I got to culinary school. I made like 100 on every test. I nailed it. I was voted most likely to succeed on graduation night. I just nerded out in culinary
Just
school.
love it.
Yeah.
But that's validation though, right? I feel like that's just validation that it's like, yep, I've picked the right path. This is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah. It was also a lot of pressure holding this medal. It's like, oh boy.
I better succeed.
Yeah.
Well,
But I was gonna say I struggled with that for a long time. Like, what does that mean? And I think when I graduated culinary school, it was a lot of you were either a private chef, a restaurant chef, caterer.
Mhm.
The opportunities have changed so much now, and so I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I've learned that success is just really it's a very personal, subjective definition of what that is.
1,000%. I was just thinking that actually, as you were saying the words, success means so many different things to so many people, and for a lot of us, it's not. It's not financial. It's not the fame end of things. It just means on a personal level. Yeah, I have gotten to the point where I want to be in life. Autonomy, just that's
Yeah,
success.
it's so true. It's so true. And I'm a published author. I was like, I don't know what's in store for the future, but I am just, you know, really trying to soak in this moment. And like, I wrote a book. Oh my God, I wrote a book.
Yeah.
I earned the medal in my opinion.
I would say so for sure. And I was going to ask you, why recipe developer? Why that path and not private chef or, a chef in a restaurant? What led you down that path?
I actually did some private chefing when we first moved to California. So in New York, I was in a test kitchen, which I so appreciated working in a test kitchen at Saveur magazine because before going to culinary school, I would cook from other magazines and cookbooks, and the recipe wouldn't work, and I felt like a failure. And then once I worked in the test kitchen, I realized, oh, these things have to be tested over and over and over. We got recipes on little cocktail napkins, and then you've got to edit it so that the home cook can be successful. And when Jesse and I were writing this book, that was a big goal of ours, is like we had friends and family test recipes. We hired 2 recipe testers, but we wanted people who bought this book to be set up for success. And so working in the test kitchen, then we moved to California for my husband's job, and I didn't know anyone out here. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I started private chefing and catering, and it was so fun to work with clients on a menu that they wanted, because that's kind of where the development came in. Like I was, they didn't eat chicken. Okay, let me develop some protein meals for them, or if they're gluten free or vegan or whatever.
Sure.
And so I really enjoyed working with clients and like creating and developing new, nothing, you can find anything on the internet now, but
That's true.
catering to someone's needs and wants was really fun for me.
I've interviewed Julia Collin-Davison with America's Test Kitchen, one of the co-hosts of America's Test Kitchen. And I just find that so fascinating because she's also a recipe developer, but then they test that recipe a bazillion different times. You have to be incredibly patient, I would think, to have that role, right? Because, you do it one way, you make the tiniest little tweak, and you got to do it all over again to see if it works.
Yes, it is. I worked, one of the first books I worked on was Candace Nelson of Sprinkles Cupcakes.
Yeah.
I don't know if do you have Sprinkles? So I worked on her baking book. And I remember testing the red velvet cupcakes so many times. Like my kitchen sink was stained red, and I love red velvet. But there was a period where I was like, I can't look at red velvet for a while because we tested those over and over. We wanted them to be perfect. And so that happens, you're like, I don't want to make these again. But especially with baking, it's a little more precise, and it requires
hugely
testing and retesting and cross testing.
Hugely. Yeah, well, I love to cook and I use recipes for inspiration, but I don't necessarily stick with it. But there are those people who follow the recipe to the T, and so it's got to be good.
Mhm. Yeah. It's that was another struggle in the book was, we want people to trust their instincts. And if
Hmm.
we say this has got to saute for 5 minutes, it might be 7 minutes on your burner. Which was why it was important for us to get, my mom in Alabama who had an electric stovetop to test certain recipes because I wanted to give a range to people. But we really we want people to make these recipes and follow it, but also get creative. If you don't have tarragon, you can use parsley, or
Hmm.
you can swap out the herbs or seasonings.
That's the
So
joy of cooking, though, right there. You just nailed
yeah,
it. That,
yeah.
that's the fun part. Um, what was it like working in the test kitchen at Savoir magazine? I have their, it's like Savoir comfort food cookbook.
That's a good one.
One of my absolute favorites. Such an amazing cookbook. So what was it like working for Savoir magazine?
It was so when I left culinary school, I had a lot of chef instructors say, you got to work in a restaurant. You're not going to be
Yeah.
taken seriously if you don't work in a restaurant. And I was older. My class was such a range of ages and,
Hmm.
some younger kids who they were going to start as a line cook. And I was just older. My husband and I were starting a life, we're thinking about having kids, and it just didn't, I don't get that satisfaction, like adrenaline rush being in a restaurant kitchen.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to be successful if I don't go work in a restaurant kitchen. And so when I started at Silver, they ran, I mean, the team I was under too, like they ran such a tight ship.
Hmm.
And it wasn't just like it was hard work. I mean, I was there some nights until 7 or 8 p.m. trying to get all my recipes tested because the editors were coming into the kitchen first thing in the morning to taste them. And so it was a lot of work. I look back and I'm like, that was a serious job.
Hmm.
It was the hardest I've ever worked. And it wasn't this fast-paced line cook work, but it was completely different, like patience, organization, keeping your surface clean.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think it was a very serious job that set me up for success for sure.
Yeah. So in California, then you're this Southern girl. Were you guys like in the LA area when you moved there?
Yes, we were in Santa Monica when we first moved here. So I had the Santa Monica Farmers Market. We were near the ocean. I had Santa Monica seafood. I know. I had some. I mean, there's a lot of East Side institutions that I do a day trip over to the East Side sometimes, and especially if I go to Jesse's house, I'm like, this is going to be a culinary
Ah,
tour. I'm going to leave Jesse's and I'm going to go to Home State Tacos and
perfect.
um, yeah. But we settled in Santa Monica, and I loved it. I Right when we moved here, I got pregnant and I had my daughter, and so not only did I not know people, but
But you're
I was
pregnant and you
really
don't know
sick.
people.
Yeah, it
Yikes.
was brutal. Which is why going to, stepping out of my comfort zone that night and going to this dinner party where I met Jesse
Hmm.
was a nice reminder to just step out of your comfort zone, put yourself out there, and the universe will help you a little
Oh, that's so
in those
funny.
cases.
I was just gonna say that was such it was like destiny that you went to that dinner party. So did he? Because I've heard the story. He didn't want to go either, right?
Yeah, it was I think it was a weeknight, and Jesse, he has so many obligations like this, but he went to support
Mm.
a friend, and we ended up having, and I mean, I got home, I crawled in bed at 2 a.m. Like we had an amazing time at the party. So, it turned out to be this beautiful thing. But like I said, for me living on the West Side, I don't know if you're familiar with LA traffic, but getting downtown on a weeknight, it's like a 2-hour Uber drive. I was going by myself. Yeah, it was, I mean, just the whole time I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna know anyone,
Yeah.
it was scary.
Yeah, I bet.
Talk about social anxiety. It was like, oh,
I bet.
but it ended up
But right,
being,
what a beautiful connection. And I love that when you meet someone and you sort of instantly hit it off and then you just keep talking and it's just like one connection after another. And then at some point you're like, should we be friends? Like, can I get your digits? Is this cool? Like, can we hang out?
Jesse put his information in my phone that night, and I didn't even look at it until I got home. And I look at his contact, and his home address is in there, his birthday, like, some not private, but some personal information that he had just met me. And I crawled into bed. I was like, Will, oh my God, I met Jesse Tyler Ferguson, and I think we're gonna write a cookbook together. And then the next day, it was like meeting someone in a bar that you're romantically interested in. It was like, do I call him? Do I wait on him to call me? What's the rule? Do I wait 3 days? He FaceTimed me that next day.
Do I wait? Yeah. It's like a scene from the movie Swingers.
Yes. Don't stop calling.
That's so good. I was gonna ask if you called him the next day. He FaceTimed you?
He FaceTimed. He and I are very similar. We are not fans of text. I hate when you get text from people and they're like, how's everything going? I'm like, can you just call me? That's a lot. And I talk a lot. So Jesse also likes to talk on the phone. So he FaceTimed me. He said, I talked to my agent this morning and I told them about you. They want to meet us. And so I think the following week we had a meeting with a book agent who knew his agent.
Damn, that's quick.
Very LA, right? Have my agent call your agent.
I'll have my people call you.
I don't have an agent.
I don't have people. I feel like that's a level of success. When I get people, I'm good. I'm done. Throwing in the towel.
Yeah.
Quick question though, when you did meet him, was there anything, and maybe for him too, when you guys were just sort of chatting back and forth, did he say anything where you were like, what? What? Like was there something that he said that you're like, dude, me too? Was it cooking?
It was definitely, yeah. We immediately bonded over. I remember, again, he puts his contact info in my phone, and I had this cookbook idea in my head that I told him about. Who does that? Like, I just met a stranger at a party and I've just told you about this cookbook idea that wasn't Food Between Friends. It was another one. And he moves his chair over beside me and he was like, I love this. Tell me more. And so it was just immediate. Jesse is an avid cookbook collector. So we were kind of sharing our favorite cookbooks. We both, he was a friend of Ellen Bennett's, of Headley and Bennett Aprons. And I had just met Ellen because I wrote this little piece in HuffPost about her apron. So I had just met her and she'd given me a tour of her factory. So then we're talking, I was like, oh my God, Ellen Bennett, we're having this. So it was all food related, like the food we love, cookbooks, aprons, kitchen equipment,
Oh man,
everything.
y'all nerded out.
Yeah, we nerded out.
That's amazing. I just interviewed Ellen Bennett.
Oh, her book is coming out.
Yeah.
In a week or two. So
she is breath of fresh air.
I know. She is. I am in awe of how she operates and what she's done. There are many days, Jesse, especially in the beginning of COVID, when she just took this crisis and was like, I'm gonna supply masks to people,
Yeah.
And it was still in the early phases. Jesse and I were working on the book, and I was like, I don't want to have to do this. And then I'm looking at Ellen, and she's already started another company, basically.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, how does she do this?
Yeah. No, her story's great. Her story's really great.
Yeah.
And everybody can find that off script with Trish Close, that interview. I did want to say, I think it's funny that you're saying that you're not a texter. I'm absolutely a texter. And if I'm texting someone and then they call me, I'm like, oh, why are you calling me? I don't want to talk to you. That's funny. Two totally different schools of thought with that, right? Like you're either on the phone or you're texting.
Yeah. It's just, I have really small hands. It's just a challenge. And I've got an eye doctor appointment Friday. Like my vision's shot. I just want to call people.
Oh, that's so funny.
I think also during the pandemic, I miss seeing people. So I've definitely FaceTime more.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. So let's talk about this cookbook then, because you said you already had an idea for a cookbook, but how did it evolve in this idea of food between friends, which is it's just a fantastic idea. So great.
Thank you. Well, so we went to meet with Jesse's agent, and we cranked out like a mini proposal. Like we did a lot of work. So we go to this meeting, we've got this proposal with a few sample recipes, and she said, "This is great. I see your chemistry just the short time you've been in my office." She said, "But this feels like an idea. This feels like Julie's idea that Jesse's curating. So I think you two should spend some time in the kitchen together cooking and just see what happens." So we were a little defeated when we left the meeting, but we thought, okay, let's just start cooking together. So
Okay.
I would go over to his house, or he would come to my house. We would cook for friends, or we would
Mm-hmm.
just cook for his husband, and we had such a fun time doing it. And there was such great chemistry that then we said, let's throw some photos on Instagram. And then people wanted recipes. So I thought, I guess we'll throw these online.
Love it.
We weren't bloggers, but it just felt like the next step was to start a food blog. So people really liked it. I think they liked seeing our friendship, and then they caught the eye of Clarkson Potter, and here we are.
So amazing. Isn't it the best when, because again, I do love to cook, and I'll put a few things on social media. When someone goes, "That looks amazing, can I have the recipe?" That's like,
Yes.
great.
And when people have been making, when the book came out, so many people were posting pictures holding the cookbook, and a lot of Jesse's Modern Family co-stars and a lot of celebrities, and I was like, oh my God, Dan Levy's holding the cookbook. This is amazing. And now when people, it doesn't matter who it is, like, I don't know, a stay-at-home mom in Minnesota
Yep.
or Hillary Clinton, when people are cooking our recipes, it is the the most satisfying feeling ever. And I love when they tag me. I'm here for troubleshooting. Luckily, no one's had trouble yet, but it just makes me so happy when they're cooking
Yeah.
the food.
Is Hillary cooking your food? Or did you just?
I hope so. She and Jesse did before the election, they did a little IG live, and they talked about the book. So I was like, does Hillary have her coffee yet? I got to get one to Hillary.
Yeah.
Kamala
Hill needs your coffee.
and Michelle.
Yes. Goals. That's another level of success right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Quick question about you and Jesse cooking in the kitchen, because I'm such a control freak in the kitchen. I don't want. I'll offer, like, people will offer help, and I'm like, yeah, you can cut the onions, but I'm just totally side-eye watching them.
You're
like,
judging.
"Oh, are they doing it right?" Was that clearly not an issue for you two?
It is so hard to cook with people, and I'm the same way. Like, if I'm cooking and someone's in the kitchen trying to talk to me, I have an open kitchen too, so people will linger. I'm like, everybody, get out of the kitchen, don't talk to me. But with Jesse, I think it worked because I was able to teach him, so I said, this is how you dice an onion, and then he could dice the onion. And Jesse's a great cook, actually, and I think having gone to culinary school, I felt like it was okay for me to cheat and buy like the pre-peeled garlic cloves. And Jesse starts from scratch. He's like got the heads of garlic. One time we did a recipe with pistachios, and he's over there like shelling the pistachios. I said, you can buy those pre-shelled now. So it worked, and I was able to teach him, and it's just rare to be able to cook with someone. And I think we came from such different places, and we brought different things to the table, that it was a beautiful relationship.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that's a really good relationship when you can find someone that you can cook in the kitchen with, and you're not at each other's throats the whole time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's that saying for a reason, right? Too many chefs in the kitchen sometimes.
Yeah, Jesse also is a great dishwasher, so I'm like, hit it.
That is.
Start washing dishes. I'm like,
goals.
I'm just gonna go over here and rest for a second. He laughs. I'll like pour my wine and go sit in the chair, and then he's over there washing dishes.
I'll help you in a second. Do you need help?
Yeah.
Right when they're done. Did you need any help? That's the relationship I am in right now with my husband. I'm like the main cook for the most part, and then he washes the dishes.
It's a great it's a great trade-off.
I'm
My husband's a really good dishwasher.
Yeah, all the folks out there who maybe have a sweetie, put it in your vows. Just saying.
Or a kid. Teach your kid
There you
how to
go. Child
just at
labor.
least like put them in the sink.
There you go. Scrub them up, honey. Scrub them up. I do want to talk about cookbooks because you're a huge fan of cookbooks.
Hmm.
How many do you have? Do you know?
Oh my God. I mean, I even have some in my bedroom here. I'm in my bedroom, the home office. Two
You,
kids have been zooming all year, like
oh,
my hide. Uh, hundreds. I have hundreds of
hundreds.
cookbooks. And yeah, I sometimes have, with some cookbooks, I have the digital, like the ebook
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
iBook, and the hard copy. But I just, I love cooking from a hard, I hate having to use my phone and then your hands are all greasy.
Totally.
But when you have a cookbook and the pages are a little greasy or they're fingerprinted with like flour, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
My
same.
mom had a great idea. She said, I'm telling people to buy two of your cookbooks, one for the coffee table and one to cook out of.
I love
I
it.
was like, genius, mom.
I love it. There's that southern accent too. Isn't it funny? When you get on the phone with your mama and you're just like, this southern accent just comes out and people are looking at you like, I'm sorry, where did that come from?
Yeah. Did you just have a change of personality? What?
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
walked through the
My
news.
husband can always tell.
Awesome. I've walked through the newsroom before and I'm just like, all right, love you. Bye. And they're like, huh?
Bye.
Bye. Bye now. Do you have a favorite cookbook?
Uh, um, it really changes. Right now, I just got Kelly Field's Southern Baking
Mm.
book. She
Hmm.
has Willa Jean in New Orleans, and I just got that last week and made these ooey gooey butter cake bars last night. There's two and a half. She and I are on the same level. There's 2.5 cups of butter in the cake. Granted, it's a 9 by 13 pan, but I was like, yes, Kelly,
Uh-huh.
great minds.
Uh-huh.
And I had a piece for breakfast.
Well, I mean, the
So
butter's in
that's,
the title, so.
I know. I'm a big, I love, Edna Lewis is a hero of mine and I love her, book. Frank Stitt is from Birmingham, Alabama. I love his books. God, yeah, it really just changes.
Yeah.
I also just got Michael Twitty's book on rice, which I have rice with like I rice on the stove like every
Well,
night,
you're from
and
the
it is
South. I mean, come on.
yeah, yeah. And so that's a really good one, like all the variations of rice and the history. It's a fantastic book. So
Hmm.
yeah, changes each week.
Yeah, that's funny you say rice. My grandma was an amazing cook, but we would have shell beans and we would have like mashed potatoes and we would probably have pot roast or something and maybe biscuits or cornbread and then she would look at us and she would go, "Do I need to make some rice?"
Yes, you always need rice.
And I could just hear my mom like,
It's
"Mama, we have enough." And then she'd make rice.
There's so many carbs on the table. It's like shades of brown on the table.
Absolutely. I love that. That's so fun. What kind of cookbook lover are you? Does there have to be pictures or is it mostly, do you just like a textbook style?
I appreciate
Me
photos,
too.
but I, I do think most people appreciate photos.
Hmm.
I have one book that I don't know if you have these short stacks. They're these little paper cookbooks and they're about this big and it's one ingredient. So the whole cookbook is like that one ingredient. And there's some sketches in it, but there are no pictures.
Mm.
But I kind of like that sometimes because it doesn't, again, set me up for failure. I'm like, oh my God, it doesn't look like the photo.
Totally.
in Food Between Friends, we had an amazing photographer and food stylist, but we wanted the food, as you'll see in the book, like we didn't want it to be too perfect or too precious. Like we wanted it to look like half eaten, and if it's still in the pan, that's fine. And I don't want people to be intimidated by a photo.
That's awesome.
So,
I just the interview's out right now with Christine Tobin. She's the food stylist for Milk Street. And I just find that job fascinating because we eat with our eyes first.
yes.
So yeah.
Yes, it is such a hard job. And our food stylist, so our first photo shoot luckily was right before COVID happened. So that was Jesse and I were able to get the lifestyle shots in, and then the beauty shots of the food was done in our photographer's studio. So we were all on Zoom, and they planned their shoot. It was 2 weeks long. They ate everything. So she wasn't using fake stuff to like style the food or fake grill marks or anything. They ate everything. They would do the breakfast stuff in the morning, lunch, and they would plan their day. And they ate our entire cookbook.
Yeah, that's how you
Again,
do it.
which made me so happy.
Yeah, I bet. That is legit. That's amazing. What kind of food do you like to cook in your kitchen when you're just everyday thing? Do you cook every day?
But I didn't for a period because
I won't judge. I won't judge.
When we turned the manuscript in, I was like, I just need a break. We've also tried to support local restaurants, so we do a balance of like takeout, and I, am cooking. But now I'm kind of in this. I mean, I'm cooking from my book. It's so fun now to just cook my own recipes.
That's awesome.
I'm a little nervous because I thought, oh my God, what if I find a mistake, or what if I wish I'd changed something? But it's been really fun to cook from my book. And I'm enjoying it more than when I was having to do it during the pandemic and we were on like a time crunch.
Yeah. Do you identify yourself as more of a cook or a baker? Or do you like both? I know.
Jesse would say I'm a baker, but really both.
Okay.
And I also love savory baked goods.
Ooh.
But I also like a project. Like I like an all day. Yesterday I made pupusas. So it was like a pupusa project. I also have Rodney Scott's Pitmaster, his new barbecue book.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, maybe I should build a barrel pit fire thing in my backyard.
Do it.
But I don't know that that's allowed in California.
Yeah.
Fire sensitivity.
Probably not in fire season. Going into fire season. I do want to wrap up a little bit. What's for dinner tonight?
I think I actually am going out to dinner for the first time.
Good for you.
With a friend who's in town. So I'm gonna make the garlicky chicken stir fry when we hang up for my kids to eat, and then I'm going to L&E Oyster Bar for dinner.
Fantastic.
So excited.
Mama's going out on the town.
I know.
That's amazing.
And now I'm ready. I put makeup on for interviews. I'm like, I gotta go out. I'm showered and my hair's clean.
Hair wash day is the best. Where can people find the cookbook? Everywhere.
Anywhere books are sold. You know what's funny? I just got a Google alert the other day. Urban Outfitters is selling it, which I thought was fun.
What? Really?
Urban Outfitters. It's like, oh, that's fun.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Next to some sex toys, probably. And tarot cards. Chrissy Teigen is also selling it through her Cravings website.
That's so nice.
I think she posted one day and she said, available at Cravings or wherever sex toys are sold. It's like, oh no. It's not that kind of book.
You're going to have all sorts of people buying that book going, what's this about?
Yeah. Like remember Spencer's Gifts?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. But yeah, I mean, literally, when I was looking you up, I Googled the cookbook. It's everywhere. Everywhere books are sold.
Barnes and Noble, Target, Barnes and Noble, Amazon.
Yeah.
Monograms Plus in Coleman, Alabama.
Aw, yay, Alabama.
My mom hooked that up.
They're
It
so
was
proud
very
of you.
sweet.
They're so. Did she go
Yeah.
to the bookstore and my daughter
Yeah.
has a cookbook coming out and y'all need to carry it?
It's not even a bookstore. It's everyone registers when they're pregnant. They register there. It's like, they do monogram stuff or like
Uh,
monogram cups. And now they're selling cookbooks.
that's awesome. We have. I don't know if you've heard of the Rogue Creamery. It's just the world's best blue cheese. No big deal. But
Ooh.
yeah, they're here in
where is
Southern
it?
Oregon.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm a huge fan. My mom's a huge fan. So every town she's lived in, she's gone to the cheese department and said, "Y'all need to carry Rogue Creamery."
This sounds like my mom. I think our moms would be friends.
Probably. Very, very proud mamas, for sure.
Very proud.
Okay,
Yeah.
Julie Tanous, I want to wrap up and get to the final three. Best advice
Okay.
you've ever been given?
Oh, probably to stay true to who I am and authentically be me. Keep the blinders on and don't worry about what anyone else is doing.
That's excellent.
That was from my husband.
Aw, nice job, hubby.
He has great advice.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
backtrack. When did you guys meet?
In 2007.
Okay, nice.
That was another funny story. We met on an informational interview.
Wait, what's that?
Literally, I was moving. There was no job. I was moving to New York and I was just hustling, like meeting as many people I could. Like, here's my resume. And someone put me in touch with him. And so I met him at his office just to chat. Like, this is my story. Here's, and then
I love it.
another reminder, never say no to an informational interview because, or a pop-up dinner party.
Yes. Words to live by. So, and then y'all dated, got married, and the rest is history.
Yeah, we were friends at first, but he would call and check on me, like, how's the move from DC going? And he said early on he wanted me to know there was no job. He was like, I wanted to make sure this was authentic. So he likes to say I didn't get the job, I got the bonus plan.
Slick.
Which I did. Look at
You
this
did.
advice he's giving me.
That is really good advice. My husband tends to give me the same advice. Like, your path is your path, and you just keep going down that path, and don't look at anybody else. Which is challenging. That can be challenging sometimes.
Very challenging.
Okay.
But nice to have a partner that reminds you of that.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's, in this day especially, it's just nice to have a partner that is just beyond supportive, right? Of every dream that you want to have. They're just like, go for it, honey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing.
Will is my number one. My mom, Coco, and Will is two biggest fans.
Love it. That's amazing. What's your happy place?
Well, it used to be my mom's back porch swing, but they sold their house, my childhood home, during COVID and moved down the street. So now it's probably my kids' swing set that we just built last weekend.
Fantastic.
I don't know what it is about getting on the swing and swinging. It is the best feeling.
It's
when I need a breather, I get on the swing.
It's nostalgia, right? I mean, the swing set was the first, when I was like in 3rd grade, that's where I went first, the swing set.
And it gives you, I show my kids like how you have to pump your legs and get yourself really high. And when you are swinging down and that, like, I can just see above my neighborhood, and then that feeling, it's just grounding. It's such a nice feeling.
Yeah. The little flutter, the flutter in your stomach.
I know. I told my mom she has to put up a new swing at their new house, even if it's in the driveway.
Yeah. No, I'm the 40-year-old woman that walks by an outside, just like some playground, and I'm like, can I swing really quick? Just a few minutes.
Yeah. Or a rocking chair.
Yeah.
Like Cracker Barrel. I hated it when the rocking chairs were taken, when you're waiting on your table. Then you're just hovering, like waiting on someone to get up from the rocking chair.
Totally. I don't know if you've ever flown through, is it Charlotte's airport?
Yes. And they have the rocking chairs. I love that airport.
Yeah. It's the best. They have the
Forgot
rocking
about
chairs
that.
and then they have the chilies, and I'm just like in heaven. I'm good. Oh, that's so funny.
Yes.
Okay, back on track. This is what happens sometimes.
Okay.
But I love that. That's a great happy place, especially right now going into spring and summer. Swing set's perfect.
Yeah.
In all
Swinging back into life.
Yes, yes. That's a good one. In all things food and drink, what do you crave, Julie Tanous?
Definitely crispy fried chicken skin. Just brown, crispy, fried fat. Sometimes I just fry the leftover batter just to get the little bits. It's like there's a fried chicken skin in the book that I plop on a biscuit.
Yeah. Oh, that's
and they're easy to make. Yeah.
yummy. Okay, and in the beverage world, anything after a long day?
Red wine.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, I enjoy. I can't really drink like. I had a margarita the other night, and oh my God! And then just one, and the next day I was miserable. I can't do like hard alcohol, but I love just a glass of red wine around 5 p.m.
Perfect.
Need to.
Okay, one last question because you said you like fried chicken skin. Did y'all have fatback? Do you know what fatback is?
Well, like
I'm showing my weird Southern roots.
Tell me. I think I know what it is.
So it's the fat that they trim off from bacon.
Yes. And then you render it and you can cook with it.
Yes, and
yes.
you're literally cooking fat and it crisps up. I never was a big fan. It was too crispy for me, but it was huge in my family.
I know it's like pork belly when they can get it really crispy because I hate rubbery bacon.
Gross.
Like the part of the bacon I like is the fat, but that's like crispy, like a pork rind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fatback,
so good.
Biscuits and sweet tea. That was very popular.
Oh, sign me up.
I know, right?
That was my dream meal.
Oh, I love it. You have been so much fun.
I'm so happy to know that you're from the South and we have this Southern connection.
I know.
And it's so nice to meet you.
It's really nice to meet you. I just want to
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. I definitely want to let all the listeners know that you can listen to this podcast on pretty much anywhere you like to listen to podcasts. Just subscribe, rate, and review. It helps other people find us, and you can watch it at ktvl.com and on YouTube. Just search Off Script with Trish Close. One more time, Julie Tanous. Go get the cookbook, Food Between Friends. Get in the kitchen and just make a mess and have fun.
Do it. Thank you.